They then, of course, use my favorite word that the radical left always uses, and that is equity.
So, Damilola, UN Sustainable Energy for All occupy a real growing space connecting the United Nations, state actors, and the private sector in pursuing the UN Sustainable Development Goals, especially number 7, which is sustainable energy for all of us. So talk to the audience here about the importance of equitable access to clean energy. While a lot of the world is focused on decarbonizing the economy, unless it's done in an equitable way, in the end, the effort won't succeed, I don't think. So talk to us a little about what you're trying to do with your organization.
Thank you, Mr. President, for having me today and to speak about such a important topic that we sometimes leave without, and that's energy poverty. And energy poverty easily affects 1 billion people, of which 600 million reside in Africa. So when we think about a just and equitable energy transition, we can't think of 1/2 of the world and leave out the developing countries. The truth of the matter is climate development and energy have to go hand in hand. We don't have to do one and then the other and then come back. And what we're seeing is that the policies and the decisions that are being made by the developed countries are not just and they're not equitable as they relate to the developing world. There is no scenario of having 1 billion people left in energy poverty and still achieving your climate goals. It just doesn't happen, because if you take Africa as a continent and you maybe sub-Saharan Africa and you remove South Africa, you've got 81 gigawatts of energy. That means being born Black African like myself, I'm 20 times at disadvantage energy-wise at any other human being on Earth. Just being born on that continent. That is a huge issue, and that is where the equity comes in.
Okay, so first of all, this 1 billion people that she talks about living in energy poverty, this is actually what will happen if these Marxists, these globalists, these elitists ban fossil fuels. The cheapest and most effective way to produce energy for people who don't have energy is through fossil fuels. But these global elitists don't care about that. They don't actually want to serve people in energy poverty with energy. They only want to force you and force me to pay for so-called green energy or alternative energy for people in energy poverty. So never mistake what the left is presenting as compassion. Never mistake that for real compassion, because it is not. There is a solution to that, and they're not willing to look at it because it doesn't align with their political goals. So she uses this phrase, a just and equitable energy transition. Now, anytime politicians use the word transition, that's a red flag for me. I get this wild like ding, ding, ding warning bell in my head, because it means they're trying to change something fundamental about how we live and who we are into their utopian, or dystopian might be a better word, their dystopian idea, their futuristic idea. And that's exactly what's happening here. They don't want the world, but here in the United States particularly, that's where this Clinton Global Initiative meeting was held. They don't want us in the United States to live the way that we live. They want to fundamentally change everything about our society, from the cars that we drive, to the food that we eat, to the healthcare that we receive, to how we live in single-family homes in the suburbs, our transportation. What they want to shift it to mass transportation. They want to force us to eat bugs, for goodness sake. You can't make this stuff up. They fundamentally want to change our society, yet they ignore the fact that fossil fuels and petrochemicals, you can criticize the health effects or the side effects, the negative side effects that petrochemicals have on your health, but you can't ignore the fact that we rely on petrochemicals for life-saving things in our world, whether that's the fertilizer and the pesticide that allows developing countries actually to grow food so that they don't starve, whether that's antibiotics or the instruments, the medical instruments for surgeries that save our lives. These are the things that would change if these global elites got their way. So when they say a just and equitable energy transition, don't ignore that word, transition.